Hello everyone and welcome to the Flan, Miami Fierce and Lovely Art Network. Today we are at the Corner Bar and we have 4 guests. The show today is all about poetry and writing. Our first guest, Oscar Fuentes, the Biscayne poet. Second guest, Richard Blanco, Parker Phillips, and
Whitman.
Whitman. And later on, Teddy is gonna show us around the Corner Bar. And now we are gonna go straight or direct to Mr. Oscar Fuentes, the Biscayne poet, and he can't stop typing.
Wow, the city desk.
Totally. Hi, Oscar.
How are you guys?
Honey, I think you're the love poet. So much love in these poems. But love and beauty for the female, which is fantastic. Are you in love?
I'm always in love.
Always in love, right? That's a great answer. I love it. Great answer. When you write, do you write always thinking about a beautiful woman, or whoever think of a beautiful woman, or just women in general?
Well, I do write with love in mind, mm-hmm. and I'm in love with the city, and I'm in love with Biscayne Bay and like the romanticism of the boulevard. So I do write about the bay, the boulevard, and the city is my muse, and I'm in love with the woman of Miami.
Yes. So love for the city, for nature in general too, right?
Yeah, love for the city, love for the complexity of the city. I mean, there's so many different faces, that Miami has, and so many different sides to the city. Mm-hmm. Just like a woman, sometimes a woman can be like 3 or 4 in one, and Miami has that. Miami has that multi sides that are inspiring.
Absolutely. Did you start writing early in life when you were a kid, or it came along?
Yeah, well, I grew up with a lot of music and poetry and art in my family. My mother used to always read out loud, and my dad used to always kind of dance to my mother's reading. Wow. So I grew up with that, and but I didn't become really serious with poetry until when I was in middle school, when I started really getting into Shakespeare and Latin American poets like Cesar Vallejo and Neruda, Walt Whitman, and so my love for poetry was born. Yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
Very cool. Good for you.
One of the things I love is your process, because I know that you don't just sit on a sidewalk, but at certain events, the book fair lately, I know other art venues here at Corner Bar, that you set up your typewriter and people can approach you. Well, tell about it.
Yeah, well, basically, people approach me and they give me their name and 3 words.
3 words.
And with those 3 key words, I end up composing a personalized poem.
Now, you have a book out too, right?
Yeah, I have 2 books. My latest one is 4 Nights with Betsy, self-published book that I put together when I was doing the writer's residency program at the Betsy Hotel.
The Betsy Hotel.
Before that, I put together Beautiful Women Would Never Know, another compilation of poems and short stories. 4 Nights with Betsy, it's poetry, short stories, and theater. Some plays in there as well.
Do you read poems to the girls when you meet them?
Yeah.
Do they like it?
They love it. I mean, everyone's a poet, and we all have something to share. So yeah. I'm always getting poetry requested, and to recite or to write, and in return, I always get poems. So I get a lot of poetry gifts.
Papi, write me a poem.
Of course.
Oh, I love it. That's Papi, write me a poem. But what if a girl is like she's not very, very pretty? Because no, girls are very pretty. Some girls, they check them out,
Not pretty to you, anyway.
Not pretty to you, exactly. Bad hair day, maybe missing teeth, 2 or 3, and bad breath. Let's add that too. And she asks you to write a poem. Ay, papi, write me a poem, por favor.
Well, it's really easy for me to write a poem for anyone. Actually, the 3 key words that I ask from them, it's pretty important. Just because I get a glimpse of what's going on in their lives, and So it doesn't matter how they look, pretty or ugly. There's beauty. I believe there's beauty in every single one of them, and they're all in need of love. So there's this need for love and healing through poetry that just it's an inspiring thing just to write it, to compose it, to watch the person, to give it to them, and it's almost like giving flowers. It's almost when you deliver flowers, you give someone. It's the same reaction, and it's a beautiful thing.
Here you go. Here.
I actually started writing you guys a little poem here. If you guys don't mind me.
For both of us.
Yeah. I'll just continue here while you guys talk to me.
Sure, love it.
Absolutely.
Tap away.
This one's called Adora and Teddy. I usually use the names of the requesters as the title, right? I'm composing it off of the visual stimulation I'm getting right now.
Oh, honey, probably a lot.
So, yesterday I couldn't stop thinking about you. How you've been and where you were, I didn't know. I remember faces, smiling and laughing. I remember your eyes, all those lovely eyes of yours. I was a fool. Beautiful women have laid down with my books. Over my poems, they would lay down their hair, but they were hardly aware of me. Where have they all gone to? The country road is nice and inviting, but it is not for me, not anymore. Constantly, I think of Adora and Teddy.
Oh.
How they left behind their guitar and their beautiful personalities engraved in my mind. But the evil men have now set their eyes on you, all of you. The women I love are no longer mine. The evil men are after them, and this is beyond my control. My control.
Thank you.
You're fabulous. You're really fabulous. I love it. We're gonna have to frame this.
Yes, I love it. Do you want to read or recite another poem?
From your book?
I can, yeah. This is from 4 Nights with Betsy.
Okay.
And it goes a little something like this. So here I am outside my house, catching some fresh air, and right before my very eyes, quietly, silently, 1,000 flowers are blooming all around me. I run back inside the house, and even the floor is blooming. It's unusual. New, tender, pink, moist. I give her a kiss and a hug, hello, and above her head, in the glass sky, the moon hangs blue and fragrant, as if hanging from some invisible branch. I point at the moon and say, look, our moon. She looks at the moon and smiles, and then she looks at me and I smile. I'm melting inside. I'm in my room, she's sitting on my bed, I'm on the floor, my arms are on her legs, my head in her lap, and we're both quiet. Silence. I can hear my pulse. I feel that everything that defines me in space is melting, vanishing. I'm a crystal dissolving in her lap. I'm getting smaller, larger, wider, off the scale because she's no longer herself. She's a whole universe. And for 1 second, her and my bed and the floor and the blooming flowers of our love shot through the sky and hit the moon with joy. We are one. All that is in me, with me, listening to the beating of my pulse and flying across the blessed second.
Wow. That's really fabulous. Oh my God. Oh, fabulous.
That's gorgeous.
God bless, honey. You're really, really fabulous.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you very much. Thank you very much for being here with us. It's not only a pleasure, it's an honor
Thank you for
to
having
have
me.
you here. And we'll be back with much more right here in Flan, Miami. Hello, we're back. And we're back with Richard Blanco. Richard, welcome and thank you very much for being here.
Great to be here.
I remember you because we know each other for
Yes.
for a long time now. Since we're babies,
Since we were
babies.
babies.
Since your 20s.
Kind of.
Since I was straight.
Now, I see one picture here, South Beach and all that, and then I see you on TV,
Yeah.
inauguration day, and I go, oh my God, Richard! Okay, forget about you have to go through. You have to go through a few filters, probably.
Yeah.
Infuse, your poem and who you are. You probably did a few X-rays to see.
Yeah.
But then be chosen, and then reading your poem. Reading, you no teleprompter because I
No,
noticed
no,
you
I
were
didn't.
reading page by page,
Yeah.
in front of not only, I don't know, thousands of people in front of
Yeah,
you,
850.
but then millions, because it was that plus, it's
On
plus
TV.
Hialeah, plus Canada, plus LA, from China, La Conchinchina.
España, everywhere.
España,
Argentina.
everywhere. La
It was, I think-
Conchinchina is very far away. The whole world it's watching you and listening. It's amazing.
It was pretty amazing. I think the estimate there were, I think about 850,000 people there, and then about 40 million on TV. Viewers on TV. So it was the biggest poetry reading I've ever been to.
I should tell you, we just watched it about, 4 or 5 days ago with a friend who's 21, who grew up here in Miami, Cuban American, who's, trying to figure out his sexuality, I think, to a certain extent. And I watched it as you do sometimes when you see something that you've already seen a little bit through his eyes.
Right.
And it was so fresh, and he was incredibly moved. I think he almost cried.
The whole ceremony and then the president's speech during that inauguration, where he mentioned gay for the first time ever that a president has said that in an inaugural address. I was very moved. You feel this beautiful moment, and it's not necessarily because it's whether you like Obama or don't like Obama. It's not any. It's almost not. It's almost not political. It's this moment where America comes together, and it felt sacred, like almost like a wedding, like that says, we are here to bear witness to this every 4 years to say this is who we are as a country and the significance of that. So I was very moved too, and I think that helped me not be nervous because, again, you get swept away with a beautiful sense of what all that ceremony really means.
Okay, here he's now, telling the whole world that he's the Cuban American gay boy. Oh.
See,
Yeah.
the poster.
You're not going back. But now you know that at that moment, there were people that say yes, but all the people that would go, oh, really? Did ever cross your mind that there were people out there that
Yeah.
it could be good, but it could be, oh, here comes that one.
After that moment, I was expecting a lot of hate mail, actually,
Wow.
hate email and stuff. And I thought, well, it'll be what it'll be because, we've made a lot of, America has moved forward on a lot of social issues, but of course, there's always pushback when
Absolutely.
something moves forward, people want to push back, right? But honestly, nobody that I know of wrote me any ugly emails or anything like that. If they thought it, maybe they thought it, but I thought it was a beautiful. At least no se atrevieron. They didn't dare
Well, no, they're not the
to
Cuban mafia,
write me
honey.
something
The
ugly.
Cuban
so-
mafia here in Miami is very strong.
Pero I'll tell you a funny story. A mí lo que me pasó
Don't miss.
por la mente, lo que me pasó por la mente was, so I was thinking the same thing you were saying about that apprehension. Y dije, coño, I was like, what if somebody wants to shoot me while I'm up there, or something crazy like that, crossed my mind. But then I started having fun with it, and I thought, maybe if they just sort of hit my shoulder and I fall in Obama's arms and, and I thought, okay, Richard, that's a little egotistical. I think if the president stands up there, they got the security covered.
Beautiful, your partner. How long have you been together?
Almost 15 years, yeah.
15?
Yeah, 15 years. Los 15.
In your case, what I noticed in your poetry is that I don't want to say easy to read, but it's approachable. It's like es normal.
I write accessible for two reasons. One is that in my personal aesthetic and what I feel, that I think the real intelligence, the real challenge of any art is to take something complex and make it look so simple. So break it down, craft in a discipline, and you work very hard at it. And much like a performance, to me, it's really about connecting with the audience and having them think about their own lives and about their story. Because when you make people laugh, it's because there's touching something about their world. When you make people cry, it's because it's something touching them about their own life. So in a way, art, is almost like a mirror. You're just holding it up to people for them to look at you in the mirror, but look at themselves in the mirror too, and connect in that way. And I think that's across, whether you're a painter, a performing artist, or that there's always this need to connect humans your audience or your reader with their own humanity and realize, like I say, a lot of people think that I write que yo escribo para los cubanos. O sea, I don't write just for Cubans. I write about being Cuban, but the people that have the largest connections sometimes are the ones that aren't Cuban, because they suddenly see the common humanity. Like my story about Thanksgiving, who hasn't had a dysfunctional Thanksgiving, whether you're Cuban or Venezuelan or Anglo.
Absolutely.
Even the Pilgrim and the Indians, I think, had a dysfunctional Thanksgiving. I think se terminó en un food fight, I bet.
How is it? But okay, because reading and going there, my openly gay poet, this and that, to an engineering firm or law firm, it's kind of easy. But then in high school, all these kids when you sit there, because they're teenagers, they don't know.
Yeah.
Some of them, if they're gay, they think they should be in the closet forever. And I think it's extremely nice to see a figure like you going out there and tell them that it's okay, or look what I can do.
I think that's part of the role that's been happening. And of course, it concerns me because I think now, we've made in the country, we've made a lot of advances in marriage equality, but just because a state passes marriage equality or gay marriage doesn't mean everything's fine. And I think we have to be wary that, it's a different age, people are much more open, but there's still horrible coming out stories of kids in high schools that their parents are like, and it's one thing to come out at 16 and you're, and it's another thing to come out at 25. At 25, your parents tell you, well, whatever, go to hell. Mm-hmm. It's different when you're 25, you have your career, you have a job, you're probably not living at home, but when you're 16 and it doesn't go well. So I've read at a lot of organizations in high schools that have realized that and have LGBT support groups for the kids, because they're starting to come out much younger in life.
I think it's extremely, extremely important.
Well, the irony is that the message that's now in the media and also, it's like, oh, it's fine to come out, but in a way, there's a lot of places and in situations where it's not. And at 16, you don't have the maturity sometimes to negotiate through all that. I mean, I'm not saying you should not or be in the closet just to be in the closet, but we have to be there for them.
¿No vas a leer un poema?
Actually, this would be a good poem, I think, for that. It had to do with my grandmother, que mi abuela was, qué personaje. I mean, she's just too
Still
much.
alive?
No. She died when I was about 30. But she was very homophobic, but very xenophobic too. So, her wires got crossed sometimes with things like, Fruit Loops, because she was gay, like. She also was a person in my life who, in some ways, was my greatest teacher and my biggest enemy, my best friend and my torturer, that one person in your life we all have somebody like my grandmother in our family. Esa que te dice, ay, qué bien luce, like, ¿cuántas libras bajaste? I love what you've done with your hair. ¿Qué tinte te pusiste? That kind of person that can never give a real compliment. Sí, pero era bolitera. She was a bookie too. Oh yeah, she was un personaje. Y todo el mundo, everybody loved my grandmother, but my grandmother behind closed doors was pretty harsh to me. So this is called Queer Theory according to my grandmother. Never drink your soda with a straw. Los hombres don't use straws. Milkshakes, maybe. Stop eyeing your mother's Avon catalog and the men's underwear in those Sears flyers. They've seen you. Stay out of her Tupperware parties and perfume bottles. Don't let her kiss you. She kisses you much too much. Avoid hugging men, but if you must, pat them real hard on the back, even if it's your father. Must you keep that cat? Don't pet him so much. Ay, mijo, why don't you like dogs? Never play house, even if you're the husband. And quit hanging out with that Henry kid. He's too pale. And I don't care what you call them, those G.I. Joes of his are dolls. Don't draw rainbows or flowers or sunsets. I've seen you. Don't draw at all, no coloring books either. Put away your crayons, your Play-Doh, your Legos. Where are your Hot Wheels, your laser gun and handcuffs? Those knives I gave you for Christmas. Never fly a kite or roller skate, but light all the firecrackers you want. Kill all the lizards you can. Cut up worms and feed them to that cat of yours. Don't sit Indian style with your legs crossed. You're no Indio. Stop click-clacking your sandals. You're no Tropicana chorus girl. And for God's sake, never, ever pee sitting down. I've seen you. Never take a bubble bath or wash your hair with shampoo. Shampoo is for women. So is conditioner, so is mousse, so is hand lotion. Never file your nails or blow dry your hair. Go to the barber shop with your abuelo. You're not unisex, are you? Stay out of the kitchen. Los hombres don't cook, they eat. Eat anything you want, except deviled eggs, blow pops, croissants, bagels, maybe. Cucumber sandwiches and esos petit fours. Don't watch Bewitched or I Dream of Jeannie. Don't stare at the $6 million man. I've seen you. Never dance alone in your room, Donna Summer, Barry Manilow, The Captain, Antonio, Bette Midler, and all musicals forbidden. Posters of kittens, Star Wars, or the Eiffel Tower forbidden. Those fancy books on architecture and art, I threw them in the trash. You can't wear cologne or puka shells, and I better not catch you in clogs. If I see you in a ponytail, I'm cutting it off. Okay? What? No, you can't pierce your ear left or right side. I don't care. You will not look like a goddamn queer. I've seen you, even though I know you are one.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So that was Abuelita. Not your sweet Cuban Abuelita, as you can imagine.
Wow.
Ella me quería ser un machito, you know, like.
Would it have affected her if she saw you standing in front of the Capitol at the inauguration and reading that poem?
I think she would have been proud on the one hand. I think it might have been really devastating for her because, you know, our families have to come out when you come out, right?
Exactly.
So, you know, in a sense, I mean, if it would happen now, I mean, my whole family knew by now. I mean, it's been 15 years since my grandmother died. But yeah, I mean, she would have had to go through her own, and I think that one it might have been a little bit hard for her. Yeah, you know, 10 years ago, I couldn't have been inaugural poet. The country would just not have been ready for that.
Probably. Yeah. Look how cute. Look at him. Qué bello. Mira qué belleza. Mira qué lindo.
And what does Los Cocuyos mean?
Fireflies.
Fire.
Oh,
It's also the name of my uncle's Cuban bodeguita, que se llama El Cocuyito en el libro. Like, as I call this book, it's you come of age and you realize several things about yourself. One is starting to think about your sexuality. Another one is your cultural sexuality and your cultural identity. And that comes with time, but also just, you know, a cultural coming of age as well, that you finally realize there's something to this Cuba thing that is important and it's part of me and I haven't paid attention to it. But working in the grocery store, I'm like, well, they got all the customers. I come in 2 or 3 times a day, los empleados, you know, all the employees, my family members that work there. I really started feeling like a village, like finally feeling like I belong to this community, and that's why the Prince is the village of, you know, I felt like they raised me in a way, you know, that whole thing of that proverb that says it takes a village to raise a child. It really took, you know, all these people in my life, and that's the arc of the book. It ends when I'm 17, right before I graduate from high school, so I don't come out in it or anything, but there's already a real, you know, a dawning of, wait a minute, I know I'm different and I still can't have that conversation with myself, but I'm trying to figure this out, you know.
What's next?
Well, I have a children's book coming out at the end of next year, but it's just the inaugural poem illustrated by Dave Pilkey, and so that's exciting, but it was the easiest book I ever had to write because I just had to give them the poem, and they're doing these beautiful illustrations. And then, I don't know, I feel I need to write poetry again.
Ay, Richard, thank you very much, mi
you, my
amor.
dear.
Eres un ángel, que Dios te
It's beautiful.
bendiga. Thank you for your
My pleasure.
talent and, you know, and being who you are.
The Prince of Los Cocuyos. El príncipe.
Absolutamente.
El nene.
Y nos vemos más tarde. We'll be back with Parker Phillips. So don't go anywhere. Este era Flan Miami, mi amor. Hello everyone, and here we are with our guest, Miss Parker Phillips. Beautiful Parker Phillips. Welcome. I'm very happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Are you Miamian? Are you from somewhere else in Miami? Where are you from?
I'm actually a transplant. I'm from the Northeast.
Okay.
I moved to Miami in 2009. I'm actually from a white, conservative, Republican, upper middle class family in the mountains of upstate New York, it turns out.
How pretty. Very pretty. How different I can be from Miami. Miami is totally different.
It's very different. So in search of fast food and nature and queer sex, I came to Miami so I could live here and write about the ocean.
Perfect city. Perfect. Since you were a kid, did you always write? Since you were
I did.
Always.
I have always written, and it's always, and I've always been a contrarian too. I've always been.
Sounds like.
I've always been, sort of disruptive, just in my person. I'm genderqueer, so I embrace the male parts of me. I embrace the female parts of me, and it's very important for me to embrace the male or the female without rejecting the other.
But when you write in your head, it's Parker Phillips who writes. Or is the feminine is writing now, or the male is writing now?
That's a really interesting question. I like the idea of having multiple voices that I can draw from. I like the idea of multiplicity. And maybe that's something that I like about Miami too, because it's a city of multiples. It's not a city of being just one thing or being one thing or another thing.
We're not minimalist.
No, not at all.
We are not minimalist, and your poetry, I don't think is minimalist.
You also talked about sound, and it made me think about something that I really love in your poetry and that I think is really unique. I'm not a huge follower of contemporary poetry, but you're the first place that I've encountered it, which is that you use words that really just describe sounds. They don't have a verbal context. You won't find that in a dictionary. Utterances, like the utterances that we've used in theater, that you know about too. And so I find that very interesting, and I'd love to hear you talk about it and how you came to that. And
I guess the sounds are in my poems to kind of convey to the reader, like, we're not really fully human yet. We're not kind of there yet in terms of expressing ourselves because we're too constrained by standardized or official languages and these very kind of purist notions of one language which is separate from another language. And then and one language becomes so much more privileged than another language.
But I'm dying to hear something now.
I love to. With sounds.
Sounds, okay, here's some sounds. This is a poem that's called O, which is a sound. It's also an exclamation. It's also a pause, a kind of moment of consideration, like, oh. So it kind of functions on different levels, and it's after a song by the artist Sierra, the R&B artist Sierra. So this is called O. O. Listening up. O. Queen of. It gets. O. The video against was before O. All my O. Singing. O is between saying and singing. More rhetoric than sex. Ludicrous. Oh. Oh. Delight. Am I eating? Oh. Flying. Over and across O. The land quite morose already. The sun already. Oh.
That's fabulous.
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh wow, musical music, that's really, really fabulous. But are you still teaching?
I'm not teaching. I taught for about 5 years, and I loved teaching. Now I actually started a little business, and it's a small dungeon, actually, in Miami.
I love that. We have no basement here.
I have a bunch of equipment like St. Andrew's crosses, spanking benches. I have an electric winch where I, tie people up to a spreader bar and spank them and tease them. So I do sessions as a dominant.
See? Any plans for the future?
I'm just working on getting my first book out. I just finished graduate school. I just graduated from FIU in 2013. I'm getting the business off the ground, the library. I'm speaking a lot in classrooms. Join the fight to update this human rights ordinance, talking about living as a genderqueer, the kind of struggles and joys of having that identity.
Any other fabulous important questions for Parker?
We've covered a lot.
We covered a lot.
And it was very expansive.
Thank you. Love it. Thank you very much. Thank you
for having me
for
so
coming
much.
and
It's
trusting
such an
us
honor.
with your life.
Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, and here we are with Mary Whitman. Welcome. Thank you very much for being here with us. It's a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
How long have you been writing?
Forever, really. I mean, as far back as I can remember being able to, hold my little chewed up number 2 pencil, I was writing poems. I
Really?
didn't know they were poems.
Yes.
I was kind of an introverted child, and it was really my way of expressing myself, but it was just for me.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hear some of your.
Yeah, I
would love to.
thought that I would share a couple of
Please.
short poems that I wrote for others on demand, so you can get an idea of how this
Okay,
goes.
okay.
Sometimes people will, I'll say, give me 3 words, and I'll create a poem. Sometimes they'll give me a topic, and I'll create a poem. And sometimes they'll say, it's your choice, create whatever you feel. So these 2 short ones I'm going to read you, the people did give me a topic. So the first one was a little girl, and this was at the Miami Book Fair last year. And she wrote on her card that she wanted a poem about her goldfish named Brian. And Brian was in fish heaven. So Brian had passed away. So this was for Brian, the goldfish. I always remember your gaze, giving me one eye, then the other. My flowing, floating friend, swimming sister, or were you my brother? Either way, I can say I'm missing the kisses you'd give me through the glass. You'd dive and dip. I'd often ponder, do fish have lips? Now I wonder what your afterlife brings. Are you my fish angel? And how do you swim with wings? Yeah.
Wow.
And then this was for a young woman who had lost her mom when she was lost her dad when she was a teenager, and her mom in her very early 20s. So this was her name's Maria. So this was a meditation for Maria. Just me and mother's whispers in the melt and melody of the moon, singing over me, bringing love to me. Just me and father's face in the all-knowing glow of the sun, shielding me from harm, his shine disarming me. Whenever wanting, whenever wondering, only an upward glance to find my reminder. Your eternal covering is forever hovering.
Oh, wow. Oh my God.
That's amazing. You write that right on the spot.
And what did they say? What did she say? I would be crying after that.
There's often tears and hugs, and it's really just a feeling like no other. It feels like a service, for lack of a better word.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Good service. Though.
yeah.
Thank you so much. I love it.
Yay.
Oh, I love it. Well, this was Flan, Miami. Mary Whitman, thank you
Oh,
very
thank
much.
you.
Thank you
My
very
pleasure.
much. Look
My pleasure.
for her wherever you go, wherever you hit.
Eatyourpoem.com.
Sorry?
Eatyourpoem.com.
Okay, now you got it. Thank you very much. I think David's going to talk to Paula now. Finally, maybe we can find out about what's going on at the corner bar.
Paula Cardenas, General Manager, Corner Bar. So how long have you guys been here? About 3 years now. December 13th is going to be our 3rd-year anniversary.
It's a great place. I don't come that often, but I come when artist friends are doing things here. I know you have musicians and performances.
Yes, we do have a Tuesday night, a jazz night that is very nice. We do DJ nights too every Thursday and every Sunday. That we're starting a new one. Is with a sleeper. Two of our bartenders, Sleeper and Cassie, is a gay night. The bar is not a big space. It's kind of small. We have close 100 beers. We have a lot of liquor, as you can see.
100 varieties of beer. Is there any
Kinda
food
like-
here? Any food here at all?
And we do have food too. And we open until 8 in the morning, Fridays and Saturdays. Just the main area.
You got a big seating area?
Yeah, and this is our sitting area.
Where people perform, I've seen them perform right over here.
Yeah,
And you stay open till 5 a.m.?
from Thursdays to Sundays, and Fridays and Saturdays until 8 in the morning.
Paula, thank you so much, and thank you for having us here. It was really fun.
Thank you, guys.
It's such a cool place, the corner place. Anytime I come here, I run into friends, and it's very relaxed. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Corner Bar.